Hey everyone, Fred here from the CC Network, welcoming you back to another Friday Flashback pay-per-view review, where I look back at old wrestling events because I want to, and you all listen to it because you like hearing opinions on this stuff. Nonetheless, this time is a WWE pay-per-view that has recently turned 10 years old, and I'm thinking to myself, does it really hold up now? Let's find out, shall we? It's Unforgiven 2005, and this one was chosen by me, not someone else in the wrestling community, because I like to treat myself every now and again, and the fact I've wanted to re-watch this knowing I haven't seen it since the night it aired, which says a lot really. Nonetheless, this card featuring Raw brand talent looked pretty good on paper, but again, like I said, does it hold up? Well, we're going to have to find out then, won't we? Unforgiven 2005 was held on the 18th of September 2005 at the Ford Center in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, which was surprisingly the only pay-per-view held in the state, weirdly, and a paltry 8,000 people turned up for it. Calling by Taproot was the theme song, one of my favourites of all time, and let's see where it all goes from here. And first off, we have Carlito defending the Intercontinental Championship against the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Now, going into this match, the feud was surrounding how Ric Flair had pretty much done it all in WWE, as he'd won the 1992 Royal Rumble, 2 WWE Championships, and the Tag Team Championships, as well as the WCW version of the US Championship. However, he had never won the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, and a cocky Carlito who had been on the run with the title since arriving on Raw in June had thought, you know what, this is an old man, he's an easy opponent, I can beat him, and he of course spits an apple in Ric Flair's face because he's Carlito, and we got the match resulting from it. Now, Flair came out here with a massive pop, and Carlito came out with light boos, so you can kind of tell where this match is going to go from here. They want to see Flair win, they're hoping to get it. Now, the match starts off gingerly, with both men trading collar and elbow tie-ups, with Flair taunting and getting the better of his younger counterpart with some headlock takedowns. Carlito looks like the occasion is way too big for him as he knocks Flair down. Flair comes back, slapping Carlito's back and chest into the turnbuckle. Carlito knocks Flair down with a punch before walking right into a massive chop that the commentators oversell and the crowd legitimately cringe over. Jesus Christ. Carlito then backs Flair into a corner and receives a thumb to the eye and more chops before taking Flair down again. 10 punches. Flair then counters into an inverted atomic drop, followed by yet another chop. It's safe to say at this point, like everyone has said, if you see every Flair match, you know most of his moves are going to be chops, and that's pretty much what happens here. Good God. A figure 4 is countered, pushing Flair to the outside. He tries to get it back in, but has his arm thrust alongside the rope and the steel post before being thrown arm first into the steel steps. Back in the ring, Carlito stomps and wrenches the arm. The crowd will Flair on as he gets back to his feet and chops yet again, but he isn't up for long as Carlito gets frustrated and punches the living lights out of the 16-time world champion, and of course, in a lot of places, the floor and the turnbuckle before hitting the dreaded back body drop, which of course means you're working that back, despite the fact it's not been done the entirety of the match. And he gets the first 2 count out of it, so how long have we been? About, 6-7 minutes, possibly? And we've only just gotten the first pinfall. Not a good sign. Carlito hits an armbar takedown for 2, before going back to the stretches on that arm. Flair fights back into the ropes with more chops and a knee to the face. Flair goes to the top rope, countering a body slam and hitting a clothesline from the top, which makes the crowd pop incredibly hard, and so do the commentators, as they believably highlight that Flair hasn't hit a successful top rope move in quite many years, which says a lot, really. Flair goes up again because he eats the crowd noise, but then eats a dropkick in mid-air instead for 2. Carlito goes out for his apple, saying mockingly, "Gah, this is a 16-time world champion." He then takes a bite of his apple before Flair punches him right in the throat. Carlito falls down, Flair locks in the figure 4, and Carlito taps as the crowd go nuts. Ric Flair has won the Intercontinental Championship in 11 minutes and 46 seconds. And then after the match, because it's funny, Flair gets on the mic saying he's going to be partying all night long. He grabs some women from the crowd, takes them to his limo, where for the rest of the night, we cut to elements of Ric Flair and his frisky escapades as a result, which has some fun comedy, to say the least. Now, while this match was slow, pandering to Flair's age with a limited moveset, it was surprisingly well paced with some good momentum shifts, and with almost 12 minutes going by very quickly as a result. The psychology of the arm was where the meat of this match was, let down by Flair not selling it towards the end, obviously, and while the end was predictable, the crowd were into his offense despite, like I said, how limited it was. Carlito was a non-entity, getting very little crowd response at all, but for what little this match had, it did its job in building up to the finish, which was done very well indeed. It was not the traditional opening match for me, as you know I always say, a fast, fluid, quick opening match is all you need. But it got the crowd pumped, so I really can't complain about it too much. Flair vs. Carlito is basic, but it's slightly entertaining at that. 1.5 stars. It's simple, and if not for the arm working by Carlito and this warm crowd in Oklahoma waiting for that result, this could have been a much worse match. Next up, we have a Divas Tag Team match with Ashley Massaro and the Women's Champion Trish Stratus taking on Victoria and Tori Wilson with Candice Michelle in their corner. Do you remember a time when women wrestlers in WWE had surnames? Because I do, and it was absolutely wonderful. Kind of shows how times have changed, where all they need is their single names, and that's all you need to sell it. Weird. Anyway, Ashley won the second WWE Diva search around the time of SummerSlam. Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle were traded to Raw, and they turned heel and attacked her because hazing is fun. Hooray! They got her used to WWE life by beating Ashley in singles matches. Trish Stratus returned from a hand injury that she'd suffered in May, aiding Ashley, and formed an alliance, which is where this match came from. Although I have to say, this match does not deserve to be second place on the card. It really doesn't. I'm telling you now, it should have happened a lot later when the crowd really needed to be kept hot for this one. Anyway, Victoria and Trish nearly brawl straight out of the gate, but it boils down rather quickly. But then again, I'm happy they have done, knowing their history, which the commentators happily play up. Victoria hits an arching chin lock, which is just so beautiful. Trish then runs out to the top rope, springing off with a nice Hurricane Rana. Trish goes to take the page out of Ric Flair's book by laying in the chops to the breast, because she can. Ashley tags in, flipping over Victoria's turnbuckle move, hitting her with a stiff elbow, rolling over her lifeless body again for reasons, and then hits her with a sloppy dropkick for 2, which Tori breaks up. Now, I'm going to point this out here. The commentators state that Ashley has only been in the ring training for 2 months. Can someone explain to me why she's on pay-per-view then? It doesn't really make any sense. Anyway, on the outside, Candice Michelle goes in for some beats, but of course, as we know, the face has to save her, and Trish promptly does. Ashley gets put back in the ring, where Victoria hits a flipping leg drop from the apron for 2, which is lovely. A chin lock is locked in, with the crowd getting behind Ashley. She's fighting out despite overselling the chin lock. For me, the leg movements were a little too much. But then again, if you're not used to selling in wrestling, you're bound to do it somehow, right? Anyway, she fights out but gets slammed to the canvas. Tori is then tagged in with some wonderful offense. She stomps the gut and slams the head into the canvas twice before tagging Victoria back in. Yeah, Tori Wilson wasn't known for her in-ring prowess, was she? Anyway, Ashley goes for the gut before being kneed in the face. And even more annoyance, Ashley is going for the hot tag, but she crawls so slowly it looks so bad. And Victoria is standing 1 foot away from her and doesn't do a thing. It looks so disjointed and, so bad. Anyway, I've got to keep on talking here, because the bad things are going to happen. Anyway, she's stuck in a front face lock shortly afterwards. She rams Victoria into the post, gets the tag, but Tori is distracting the referee, which means it's nullified. And the crowd are not happy about that, because they want to see Trish kick some ass, which is impressive in so many ways. Anyway, Victoria is then hit off a top rope move, which allows Trish to tag in, hitting a Frankensteiner off the top. Victoria counters a move, going for a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, which Trish counters into a beautiful Hurricane Rana. Candice and Tori interfere, but eat a double clothesline. A spine buster by Trish on Victoria then gets 2, but Candice Michelle can't keep her head out of it. She distracts the referee, she gets dragged in, Candice tries to really do something, and Tori tries to help her, but is beaten up by Ashley on the outside. Trish goes for the Stratisfaction, Tori comes in again, but both are hit in a head scissor Hurricane Rana whip combo. It looks a little sloppy, but I'll take it. Victoria then eats a chick kick for the 3. Ashley and Trish win in 7 minutes and 5 seconds. Now, okay, I'm going to point this out. While this match may sound exciting based on how I've described it, I'm going to point this out to you all. There wasn't that much going on when you actually watch it. And while I will give Ashley some credit for trying, her offense was sloppy and terrible. Now, like I've said, why they put her on pay-per-view after however many months, and she's still technically training, is really random. Nonetheless, the match was slow-paced, had no crowd reaction, bar Trish doing anything, and for me, if it wasn't for the moves of Victoria and Trish, they being the only highlights here, this match would have completely tanked to a 0, but you know what, I'm going to be nice. And apart from those moves, we have nothing else to merit. This match gets 1/4 of a star. Alright? It's simple, but I've got to do it. It may seem too much, but seriously, good wrestling moves in a match with nothing really can help. Look at the WrestleMania 30 Divas match, if you get my drift. Nonetheless, guys, do not bother with this one. It's not worth the time. Now it's time for one of Vince's favourite things. 2 giant big guys wrestling each other. It's Snitsky versus the Big Show. There isn't really that much to say in the feud here. Both of them just attack each other for no reason. A ring bell was used, and that sets up the match. And yeah, you can see how sloppily this was put together. Especially considering that they first interacted back in June and didn't play off it. Feels weird, doesn't it? Anyway, let's get on with this. While the screen is still showing the replay of the ring bell shot, Big Show just goes right ahead and attacks Snitsky right before he gets in the ring, which is brilliant because this match gets off to a start that nobody saw coming. Snitsky then gets thrown around like a rag doll, which JR hypes up to no end, and is a signifier for how far Snitsky's fallen since he was kicking babies and destroying Kane the year before. Really, it's a massive fall from grace. Anyway, Snitsky tries to leave because he's a heel, but Show eyes him up and just throws him back into the ring, which is a bit anticlimactic. He goes for the frying pan slap to the chest, which wakes the crowd up and then some. Snitsky rolls to the outside, he lines up for a ram into the post, but he moves, allowing Big Show to run straight into it arm first. Snitsky then rams the arm into the post and stretches it before going into the ring and working on it. And also as a nice reminder, it's the right shoulder with the tiger tattoo, because I keep forgetting midway through that he probably did switch arms and I didn't really notice. Just in case you're watching, that's a reminder. Nonetheless, Big Show tries to go with a chokeslam with the bad arm before being ran into the turnbuckle. Snitsky then hits a back suplex off that for 2, which the commentators love, but the crowd didn't really pop for it. Snitsky knocks Show down with a big boot for 2. The crowd then firmly get behind the Big Show because no one really cares for Snitsky, as Snitsky goes right back to the stretching of the arm. Big Show fights out, hitting a spinebuster with the bad arm, mind you. He then hits a clothesline with the bad arm, and to top off the crap psychology cake, he signals the end and hits a chokeslam with the bad arm for the win at 6 minutes and 11 seconds. And Big Show isn't done. He gets his revenge, whacking the ring bell right over Snitsky's head. Because a face revenges. It fit the story, but still. Okay, this match was formulaic and as basic as it gets, with Big Show looking quite strong. However, if the ring bell was actually used in the match instead of afterwards, it would have helped a lot more, considering that it was the ring bell as the only reason these two were fighting in the first place. You know, for example, if that opening brawl bumped the ref, for example, I could have lived with that. But yeah, I mean, sure, Snitsky worked the arm, which was great, but it was completely undone because Big Show no-sold it and hit a chokeslam with it. That shouldn't be possible. Honestly, seriously, the pace, although with the psychology problems, wasn't as meandering as I thought, and the crowd was relatively interested for this not to be a massive flop, but it didn't do itself any favours with the psychology, so it gets 3/4 of a star because I'm nice. Honestly, if I was anything else, you'd all be really worried. Nonetheless, guys, this could have been something a little better than it was, but seriously, psychology matters, people, that's all I'm going to say. Now, before this match, we have a Chris Masters versus Shawn Michaels promo, which made me think, ooh, we're going to get the match up next. Perfect, we need it to break up the monotony of the last 2 we saw. It doesn't happen. It undermines the later match, and it honestly is a stupid production decision, because that promo was really well made. It got me pumped. So why aren't we seeing it later? Who bloody knows? Anyway, we need to get away from that, because we have Shelton Benjamin versus Kerwin White to get to, and Oh boy, I forgot about Kerwin White. If you don't know what Kerwin White is, you kind of need to rehash your history of professional wrestling, but if you don't, I'm going to tell you anyway what this is. Kerwin White was Chavo Guerrero, who upon being drafted to Raw, discarded his Hispanic heritage and decided to take up a gimmick of a middle-class white man who loves golf. And he has the most cringeworthy catchphrase that has ever been put down to pro wrestling. If it's not white, it's not right. And I'm saying that with a smile on my face because I'm partially cringing at it while speaking it to you off of my script. Nonetheless, he ended up going around basically being racist and controversial to pretty much anyone of any ethnicity or different skin colour that Raw had. And most of these were directed at Shelton Benjamin, because reasons, I guess. Anyway, Rob Conway had a match against Benjamin, which Kerwin interfered on and got the loss against Benjamin. And the DQ happened in a match that they had on Raw prior to this pay-per-view with a golf club being used to Shelton's back. Now, I don't mean to be one questioning things here, but when you've got a racism angle where a Hispanic is playing a white guy in a match against a black guy, it kind of seems almost like they're taking the piss out of racism issues. And it's got Vince McMahon and Michael P.S. Hayes' fingerprints all over it, because those two are closet racists. We kind of know that when you look at the broad scheme of things. Although Michael Hayes was the head booker of SmackDown at the time, so I have no idea how this made any sense when I'm putting this claim in. So maybe I should discard that. Hey, it's a good joke while it is there. Nonetheless, I also completely forgot that Kerwin has a Sinatra-esque number as his theme song, which is quite lovely. Anyway, Benjamin goes for White right out of the gate, taking him off the apron before the bell. White tries to get some offense, but eats a kitchen sink. I love it because it actually doesn't mean a kitchen sink. I love wrestling move names. Anyway, White tries to get some offense but eats a back body drop and a low clothesline. White swings momentum with a low drop kick to the knee, which he hits before being thrown up in a modified press slam. Now, Benjamin goes for a turnbuckle splash and eats it before having a shoulder block hit on the knee to take it out. White slams and stomps the knee, and at this time, of course, JR is highlighting, look, it's Chavo Guerrero, who is this Kerwin White guy? And King and Coach are saying to him, look, even the Spanish commentators call him Kerwin White. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to switch over the feed to the Spanish commentary and inevitably show you that, yeah, this is Kerwin White, not Chavo Guerrero. And I'm sorry, but this is a really unique piece of psychology. I'm going to tell you right now, it goes for for 3 minutes or so. We have a Spanish commentary on. And it's wonderful. It is fantastic. And while that's happening, White has gone for the leg stretching in a Brock lock, because I can't remember the actual full name of it because I'm some kind of idiot. Benjamin goes for an Irish whip, but White hits a 420 spinning head scissors. Wonderful. White then whacks the leg on the ropes as the crowd chant Chavo sucks, which is lovely. No matter though, Benjamin counters a monkey flip limping on the knee, which is wonderful, before a Samoan drop takes both of them down. Benjamin punches back, hitting some elbows and clotheslines before hitting a nice inverted backbreaker that hits the head more for 2. Benjamin hits a back body drop, big back body drop, and then another back drop and goes to the top rope. White hits him off and Benjamin's leg gets wrapped around the turnbuckle. White then hits a massive superplex, covering for 2, holding his head, mind you, which has already been hurt a bit. Benjamin then crawls back up, but it's countered into a half Boston Crab. The crowd are now fully invested into this, taking some time to get into it as they wheel Benjamin on. He refuses to tap, rolls through and catapults White into the turnbuckle. White then grabs his golf club from beside the bottom rope, lines it up for a shot which Benjamin counters into a T-bone for the 3, and the sudden victory in 8 minutes and 6 seconds. Benjamin doesn't look like he's done though. He goes to grab the golf club for a shot, but he just gives it to the referee because he's a sportsman and just walks off anyway, leaving his opponent in absolute agony off a T-bone. Now, even though the Kerwin White gimmick wasn't the best decision in the world, however, the gimmick's only pay-per-view outing was a surprise. A really solid and unexpected one. The pace was fast and fluid, with the leg working helping that nicely, and the crowd, while they took some time to warm with it, were fully invested by the end, which added some nice antagonism and some nice heat to it. The use of the Spanish commentators for the psychology was just wonderful, adding some comedy as well. Overall, this was a nice little refreshment from the matches we'd seen prior that were just really slow messes. And you know what? I'd happily give this 2 stars. You don't like that? Well, you can take your opinions and stick them where the sun don't shine, which happens to be the comments section. So, would you mind putting them down there? That'd be fantastic. Now we have Matt Hardy versus Edge inside a steel cage, and you all know what happened with this one, of course, because Lita fucked Edge and screwed Matt. You know how that all goes. They had a match at SummerSlam where it was stopped after 3 or 4 minutes because Hardy got busted open pretty hard on a steel post. Matt then went after blood for legit reasons here by throwing Edge off the stage with a side effect through some electrical equipment during a street fight a week or 2 later. Then, well, Eric Bischoff thought, you know what, I can't contain this anywhere. I can't do anything. You guys are incredible, insane madmen who want to destroy each other. I'll put you two inside a steel cage and that'll be all good. Now, of course, this match has been built up as the moment that hopefully Matt Hardy can get the win. The crowd are expecting it. Honestly, we all are. Let's hope the match does a bloody good job of making sure it all goes well. Now, both men stare at each other really aggressively as the intensity builds around the crowd before tying up and flailing at each other. Both men block headshots to the cage as Hardy aims with some large punches. Edge scales the cage off an Irish whip, but Hardy pulls him down and headbutts him and hits a double hammer shot to take him down to the canvas. Edge goes for the door, but Hardy then stops him, with Edge hitting a back suplex, with Hardy locking into a headlock upon impact. Edge has to rake the eyes to get out of this, and after some punches, Edge tries to go up again, with his head being hung up on the top rope, followed up by a running elbow for 2. Edge then whips Hardy into the turnbuckle, but eats elbow before Hardy hits a top rope flying elbow, going for a twist of fate, but he's then rammed into the cage, followed up by an Edge-o-matic for 2. Edge goes for the climb once again, almost making it, but Hardy grabs him and both men flail at each other on top of the scaffolding. Hardy then goes for a top rope side effect, but Edge counters, ramming Hardy's head into the scaffolding right at the top of the cage, his body then slumping down to the canvas. Edge then hits a missile drop kick right to the back of the head to add even more intensity. Now, of course, remember, Matt Hardy's head was whacked in countlessly at SummerSlam. You can kind of see where the psychology's going here. Anyway, 2 backdrops by Edge keeps Hardy down as the crowd boo him as he does the V1 taunt, which I always loved. Anyway, Edge punches right at the head, which is, of course, like I've said, badly injured at SummerSlam as Lita watches on. The head of Hardy is then slammed right into the turnbuckle before a boot right into the temple. Hardy has that really amazing glazed look over his eyes. It looks like he's properly getting his head beaten in, as Edge plants a DDT for 2. Another pin gets 2 as Edge furiously punches at the head again. A powerbomb is lined up as Edge slams Hardy on the back of his head into the side of the cage. And the crowd are really getting behind Hardy as the drama is building, and Edge, he powerbombs the back of Hardy's head into the turnbuckle this time, because he can. Edge is still going at that head, as the referee asks Hardy if he wants to quit, but of course, Hardy never dies, apparently. We know he's going to eventually. He recently won the TNA title. He's probably going to die there first. Topical sarcasm. Anyway, Edge is still going at that head. As I've said, Hardy gets back to his feet as Edge lands another 2 kicks to it. Hardy then puts on the top rope, but he fights back, climbing up as Edge hooks him up and hits a powerbomb from the top rope. Jeez, the crowd didn't really pop as big for that as I thought. Edge crawls for the cover, but Hardy kicks out somehow. The crowd chant Hardy's name as Edge tries to go for the door. Hardy then grabs his ankle, Edge fights back, but Hardy bites the hand to break free. Edge goes for 10 punches, but Edge then gets hit off the top rope face first into the turnbuckle. Edge then goes for a spear, but is sidestepped into a side effect by Hardy for 2. Edge crawls to the door, but Hardy then leaps across the canvas to keep him in. Lita then throws in the Money in the Bank briefcase. He misses the swing, which swings the momentum of this match finally into Hardy's favour once again. Edge gets tied up in the ropes, the crowd go nuts as Hardy wails on him with punches. Edge is then catapulted into the brace that holds the cage together before being bulldogged onto the briefcase. This offense is brutal by Hardy, he bloody well means it. Hardy isn't selling the match at this point, but really who gives a damn? The crowd don't. They don't care, they're loving the drama, and honestly, so am I. As Edge is then thrown repeatedly into the cage, Lita tries to climb up, but fails. And Edge, he's now breeding? He will be if he's with Lita for that long. Anyway, Edge is bleeding profusely, and in what Mark Pearson would call a very manly blade job, which gets so bad. Ugh. Yeesh. Edge is now having his head stomped and kicked in as a result. It's brilliant. Hardy then lines up the briefcase, going for the top rope for a final blow, but Edge then shoves the referee into the ropes, stopping it, which disappoints the crowd, leading up to a nice spear into the cage wall. Edge then climbs up despite his beating, showing he still has some wherewithal. Hardy goes up after him. Hardy lines up and hits the side effect from the top rope. It is brilliant. Lita grabs a chair, tries to force herself into the cage as Hardy covers. She breaks through and stops the count at 2. Hardy then points at Lita, with Edge nearly escaping in the process. She tries to hit Matt with the briefcase, and he just hits her with a twist of fate. Nice, and the crowd pop massively. But then Edge comes out of nowhere, hits a spear, and covers, but Matt Hardy kicks out. The crowd go nuts, and of course, like I've said, Matt Hardy will not die here. Then it gets ridiculous. Edge climbs up and then gets punched down. Matt then climbs up. We think he's going to escape. The commentators then realise what's going on. They're telling him, don't do it. Don't, for the love of God, do what we think you're going to do. Think of your career, damn it. He uses V1er, screaming, and then hits that massive leg drop from the top of the cage, covers for 3, and gets the win in 21 minutes and 33 seconds. Damn. And afterwards, after we have a promo of John Cena, Edge is shown refusing help to the back, and oh my god, he is a bloody mess. If there's one candidate I could say who does the best blade jobs, Edge is the guy. Seriously, some of his blade jobs are fantastic, and he crawls up the ramp to the curtain, shaken but not deterred. Now, this match took a while to really get going, but when it did, oh boy, it delivered so well. The methodical pacing that the momentum shifts here feel natural and get the crowd really invested. And by the end of it, they were popping for pretty much everything. The psychology was simple but really well executed, and again, if you're working the head for both of it, it really works out knowing that history. And even though the moves were really risky, they were fun to watch and very, very rewarding. And overall, this was a really fun match to watch. 10 years on, it still holds up. This entire feud was fantastic, and this match is a sign of why. 4 freaking stars. I have no questions about that. And yes, it was the best match of the night. Go figure. Next up, we have the Tag Team Championship match, with the Hurricane and Rosie defending against the then rising team of Lance Cade and Trevor Murdock, and you can tell based on the screenshot where this match is going. Or if your memory is good enough, you know where this match is going. You're just hearing me ramble because stuff. Anyway, Hurricane and Rosie won the titles back in May, and they'd pretty much gotten through everybody. So this new team came through, defeated them on the September the 5th edition of Raw, and got their title match 2 weeks later. Seems relatively good, right? Anyway, Murdock hears a fan bad-mouthing him from the crowd and just says, "I'll fuck you up." No censors here, that's just a southern guy doing his thing, as Vince would try to say. Anyway, Cade goes right for the Hurricane, clubbing his back before missing an elbow drop. Hurricane leaps Kane and feigns the move with a "what's up with that?" which years later is still funny as hell to watch. Anyway, Cade tags in Murdock, but a head scissors gets him out of the ring and pisses him off. Murdock then gets distracted by Lillian Garcia, who Cade highlights he can have her after the match and after the title victory. Which makes me think, wow, who the hell wrote that into the script of the match, eh? Or is it just their character because they're womanizing Southerners? I honestly don't know at this point. Anyway, Murdock clubs down on Hurricane before eating an elbow and a dropkick for 1. Rosie then tags in with a sweep headbutt combo for 1. Murdock is really fighting here, and he headbutts Rosie, but he's not going to hit too far because he's dizzy as hell. And then Rosie gets more offense, hitting a running hit block for the head for 2 as Cade breaks up the count. A knee to the head for 2 by Cade, while Murdock is distracted on the outside again by Lillian Garcia. He walks up to her and asks her for a kiss, and it terrifies her unbelievably, because who would want a kiss from Trevor Murdock, people? Anyway, Hurricane goes for the save like a true superhero should do, and he then slides across under the bottom rope on the other side of the ring to get at Trevor Murdock. But Murdock has a sweet little surprise for him, a spike DDT on the floor, which makes the crowd, the commentators, and myself wince in horror. It is a very violent DDT. And that is where the match then takes a nice little turn, as Rosie checks on Hurricane on the outside, who looks in really bad shape, leaving Rosie outnumbered for a while, but he does hold his own. Murdock goes for the interference on the apron, but eats a massive clothesline. Rosie goes for a running splash in the corner, but Murdock gets Cade out of the way, covering for 2. Murdock hits a leg drop for 2 as Hurricane is now checked on by the trainer at ringside. Murdock distracts the referee as Cade rams Rosie's back into the apron on the outside. Rosie's rolled back in for 1. Cade and Murdock then double team Rosie as Hurricane's taken out of the ringside area up the ramp. Rosie then wails away on Cade, but Cade counters into a lovely swinging neckbreaker. They then go for a double team, which Rosie responds with a double clothesline. Now at that point, Hurricane notices on the Tron that, Rosie is on his own. He doesn't want to leave his superhero who used to be in training behind, so he goes in and tagged himself in. He elbows Cade and Murdock, looking dazed as anything. The high and low clothesline sweeper combo gets hit, and Murdock covers for 3 to win the tag titles at 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, this match was surprisingly entertaining for a standard tag, and it's all thanks to that damn DDT. It gave this meaningless filler title match some story that it really needed to generate a response from the crowd and myself. Not just that, it was consistently quick, with Rosie surprising in that department especially, which I always forget about. The heels dominated and established themselves, which is what the match needed to do. And while the crowd didn't really care for half of this match, it still gave me something to smile about, which from a match that I thought would be worthless in relation to its place on the card, is a great thing. Really. And sometimes the little things make even what seemingly would be the worst match something fantastic and worth the time. It gets a deserved 1 3/4 star rating. I may be going overboard here, but I really enjoyed this one. Maybe a little too much. Next, we have the match that was previewed earlier, Shawn Michaels versus the undefeated Chris Masters, who I really enjoy watching. Seriously, Chris Masters was a gimmick that really worked with me. Anyway, Shawn Michaels had just lost the SummerSlam match, you know which one I'm on about, to Hulk Hogan. Saying that Hogan was the better man afterwards, Masters interrupted him, saying bluntly, "Hey, I've been making people pass out since February when I debuted, and you don't really pass the torch to anyone. If Hogan doesn't do it, you don't do it, no one does it. And inevitably, I'm going to take the spotlight from you rather than steal it." And Michaels didn't like the sound of that, so he beat the crap out of him. Fair due. Then the Master Lock Challenge came round, and that's where things get interesting. Shawn Michaels get locked in it, he almost gets out of it, tries to low blow his way out of it, which is quite funny, and then Masters gets really frustrated, chucks him to the ground, whacks him over the head with the steel chair. The match with Unforgiven is now set, as Shawn highlights that, yep, you're going to be made to pay for that. Actions have consequences, kid, and I'm going to seek my revenge. And that's true. For this match, you can kind of see where it's going to be going from here. Michaels doesn't even get a chance to finish his entrance as he's interrupted his pose with a Master Lock before the bell rings. Masters goes for the lock again, but Michaels dodges, giving him chops and a clothesline out of the ring. He follows up with a crossbody and some beats, followed by throwing into the steel steps. Michaels, he really wants to end this kid, so he goes and gets a steel chair, ready to put him down. But the referee goes, "Yeah, I'm not having you do this here." And Masters gets the kick to the gut and then rams him into the barricade. Masters gets back in the ring, but Michaels doesn't really want to end it here and want to give up the fight. He just goes right for him, with Masters holding him in a powerbomb position, slamming him into the steel post. Back in the ring, Masters goes right for the back, hitting knees and elbows into the spine, covering off a left drop for 2. Masters hits a standing suplex, knees go into the back again for 2, as the 22-year-old keeps his aim set right on that weak spot, with 2 more elbows rebounding off the ropes. Michaels then hits back on the 3rd elbow, but is hit with a clothesline and a back body drop for 2. Masters keeps the pressure coming with hits and a backbreaker off the whip for 2. Masters gets reprimanded for punching with closed fists and hits 2 more backbreakers, stretching the last one to inflict much more pain. And Michaels, well, he's selling pretty well here, and Masters looks very strong, which is exactly what you need here. Michaels then hits Masters in the face and the gut before going back to chops. Michaels goes for a cross backslide pin, which is countered into a Master Lock, which is then countered by pushing Masters into the corner. All it results in, though, is Michaels being Irish whipped over the top rope and a torture rack being applied. Michaels then rolls out for a 2 count with a sunset flip, but he eats a rebound clothesline. Masters is now bleeding from the nose, hitting a military press slam, readying the hands for the Master Lock. Masters tries to lock it in, but Michaels holds on to the referee to stop it before applying a low blow to get him out of it. Michaels and Masters then fight back at each other with punches and chops, with Michaels hitting his flying forearm, springing up, the clotheslines, and then hits him with a scoop slam and the flying elbow for 2. The crowd are really pumped. Michaels then pumps up the band. Sweet chin music is countered into a master lock by Masters. Michaels tries to use his legs to bounce off a turnbuckle, but Masters keeps it held in. On the 4th try, Michaels scrambles over the top rope to finally break the hold. Masters argues with the referee, gets rebounded off the top rope by a cunning Michaels. Michaels goes for the top rope, gets caught in the master lock again. He then spins out and hits Masters right in the chin with the sweet chin music for the 3 and the win at 16 minutes and 44 seconds. Now, this match, while very good, felt like the A-Train versus Chris Benoit match at No Mercy 2003, the one I reviewed back in March, I think. A match was made here designed to get the veteran's opponent over as a viable threat, but to not hurt that veteran in the process. With Masters getting dominant offense and great use of psychology working that back, he made himself look very good indeed. Now, while Michaels didn't sell the offense at the end of the match, which was very disappointing, he did his part though, almost EQing himself in his desire for revenge and doing his best job to sell it up until the end. And even though the ending felt rushed and the crowd took some time to really warm to it, it was paced well enough to make me believe that Masters could match up to Shawn with good amount of momentum shifts, which was the right goal that they needed to do. Masters came out of this looking fantastic in his first major pay-per-view match, and even though it wasn't my most diverse or enthralling match, it still delivered on a lot of story, despite Masters not winning it, of course, even though it felt like he was going to, for reasons. Anyway, it's a 3-star match, which, for a match at the time, including myself, that we thought wouldn't be that good, isn't really a bad thing at all, is it? Finally, we hit the main event, with John Cena defending his WWE Championship against Kurt Angle. Now, after defeating Chris Jericho at SummerSlam and a You're Fired match 2 weeks later, Eric Bischoff, who of course really wanted to make Cena pay for not joining up with him, sets up a new opponent in an attempt to get that title off him, Kurt Angle. Bischoff then spent the next few weeks trying to put Cena in as many handicap and lumberjack matches as possible, wearing him down for Angle to beat easily. After beating Tomko and Angle in a tag match, Angle assaulted Cena, smashing his ankle against the ring post, giving him a major weak point to focus on at Unforgiven. Now these two, they've had fantastic matches in the past, but will they have a really good one here that will keep with that trend? Let's find out. The commentators play up the possibility that the injured ankle could work against Cena as the bell rings and Angle takes him down into a headlock. Cena dodges the running Angle and gets him out of the ring. Now King notes at this point that with that leapfrog, it didn't affect the ankle at all, which really bothers me at this point, as Angle goes to the arm with a Fujiwara armbar. Cena fights out and locks in another headlock. Angle forces his way out, getting hit by a running Cena, and decides just to bail because he can. The match has started out quite slow, which is good for tension, but I really was expecting something a little more. Anyway, back in the ring, Angle backs Cena into a corner. Irish Whip is countered by Cena, hitting a big scoop slam and drives elbows to the back for 2. Cena's aggressive while ramming Angle into the turnbuckle pads before hitting a nice side slam for 2. Angle rakes the eyes and hits a German suplex, before going for some nice uppercuts and stomping Cena in the corner. A nice exploder suplex for 2 by Angle. A chokehold is then applied with a rake to the eyes and a clubbing blow as standard because he's a heel, and that makes valid sense. A sunset flip off the whip by Cena for 2. A right hand by Angle off the whip hits a belly-to-belly suplex, which, it's my favourite move. I never get sick of seeing it. 2 knee lifts to the face by Angle, followed by a gut wrench, keeping that back hurt, which is weird. They're focusing on the arm and the back. There's an ankle there, why are you not attacking it? An elbow to the head by Cena, but Angle keeps it locked in, going for a cover for 2, transitioning to a body scissors as a result afterwards. Cena tries to claw out as the crowd get firmly behind him. He gets out and hits a nice DDT out of literal nowhere. Both men scramble to their feet and lay in punches, with Cena gaining the upper hand, hitting his signature running moves and a suplex for 2. Cena goes for the FU, but Angle counters with a sunset flip and the ankle lock on the bad ankle. Lovely. But Angle's... I don't understand why he's taking so long to go for it, but then Cena fights out. He counters it into a double A spinebuster for 2. Cena then dodges the turnbuckle attack for an FU that's countered into an Angle slam. Angle counters, counters, covers, but Cena kicks out. Angle locks in the ankle lock again, but once again Cena counters it. This is what happens when you don't work the ankle, damn it, and he hits the protoplex, with Cena finally selling that ankle. He says, "You can't see me," hits the 5-knuckle shuffle for 2. The crowd are right behind Cena now, as Angle accidentally is thrown into the referee. The FU follows, but the ref is out cold. Cena notices the ref is out, has a deranged look in his eyes, but Angle hits a kick to the groin with authority, wraps the gold medal around his hand, and nails it over Cena's head. Angle then drives the knee into the ankle, which makes me wonder why it took 13, 14, 15 minutes to have this happen. It is really, really weird. And then Eric Bischoff comes out as the ankle lock is locked in. Oh my god. He then grabs the belt, taunts it in Cena's face as he's writhing in agony. I don't know exactly how Cena didn't sell the ankle prior to now. Seriously, unless he took a lot of pain meds for this. Nonetheless, Cena grabs the rope, but Bischoff kicks it away. He's ready to ring the bell as Cena counters the move to throw Angle into Bischoff. Cena takes the belt, nails it over Angle's head. The referee comes to, calls the bell at 17 minutes and 15 seconds. Bischoff says, "You know what, I don't care what happens. I don't care for the rules. I don't care that this was a DQ. I am going to give the title to Kurt Angle." Cena doesn't like that. He just gives him an FU and tells him, well, to F you, I guess. Then he thinks it's over, but nah, Angles beats him up. Then he goes to put him through an angle slam through the announce table. Cena counters him for an FU, putting Angle through the table. He walks off triumphantly as the match and the pay-per-view all go to black. Now, I'm going to point this out here, but the end of the match was more exciting than half of what was going on in it, which is a major, major problem. Seriously. Because like I've said, the psychology of this match was all wrong. The ankle wasn't targeted from the get-go. And like I said, if they'd done that from the start instead of waiting 14 minutes in, this match wouldn't have been quite boring. You know, it had the potential to be great, but like I said, that angle not being worked on and the DQ finish just kind of ruined it, you know. It made it feel really flat. And it had some unrealistic pacing which hurt it too, considering how one-sided this match was. If it wasn't for its length, the crowd, and the good, decent head and back psychology that worked the majority of the match over, this would have been far worse. And while there were some nice moves too, this match just flat out disappointed me. And sure, it all led to this Daivari circus that ended up coming through at Survivor Series, but like for this night here, the match couldn't find its feet, and it fell flat for me. It was a decent match that could have been done a lot better than it did. It's 1 3/4 stars, which may sound a lot bigger than what I'm actually saying to it, but hey, this is just where I'm standing on it, everybody. And now, onto my final thoughts. This event had a lot to live up to, considering my recollections and memory of it. And some of them, yeah, they did live up to those expectations, but when you've got 6 out of the 8 matches on this card going below 2.5 stars, with none of them even reaching 2.5 in that point, it's not a very good sign, is it? Although, even with that though, these lower matches that I thought were terrible didn't get zeros, so it's not too bad, and even the 1-star area matches all had something that kept me interested and made them watchable. Sure, the Shawn Michaels Masters and the Hardy Edge matches did carry the show, along with that unexpected White Benjamin surprise, to make this pay-per-view look a lot better than it actually did. However, when you look at the sum of its parts, including the Ric Flair sexcapades that made this event really fun, it was a watching experience that you won't be dissatisfied with. Overall, it did look better on paper, I will give you that. And honestly, it could have been so much more, but when I look at it, it did enough to sell the Raw brand as a watchable entity, and overall, I came out of it feeling pretty happy. So, I can't really say a lot of bad things about this show, really, but when you look at the match ratings, it makes you think. It's not the out-and-out success that people claim it to be, but I'd still watch it again happily, so you can't go wrong with that. Ladies and gentlemen, Unforgiven 2005 gets a 5.25 out of 10. And while it is just over the average mark, if they had sped up some of the earlier matches and then played off some of the psychology on others, it would have been much more than what this event gave to me. Well, there we go, guys. Unforgiven 2005 Friday Flashback is done. Sorry for once again taking these things to 45 minutes, but I do take these reviews very seriously, and I hope you've all found them entertaining. Now, what do you think about Unforgiven 2005? Do you think I've underrated it or overrated it? Do you think some of these matches deserve more or less of what I gave it? What are your thoughts? And if you haven't seen the event, what do you think it's going to be like based on what I've said? Is it worth you time to watch? Put your comments down there in the comments section. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to keep up with everything that this channel does, which includes video game playthroughs, anime and animation countdowns and reviews, along with this wrestling content that you're listening to right now, all you have to do is click on that subscribe button, and I would greatly appreciate all the support. Next time, I haven't chosen what the next Friday Flashback is going to be. That's going to be a little surprise for you all to look forward to. Guys, I have been Freddie Thomas, you've been people watching and or listening in this case. This has been a Friday Flashback of Unforgiven 2005 for the CC Network, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers!